I am a disorganized mess today. Hope you're all doing well. Ugh. That's a little better. I'm okay, like, for the record. Feeling. I had a really productive week or two, but things have feeling much less organized and with it so far this week, and I'm starting to get annoyed with myself for that. Ooh, it's hot. No pretense this time. That's not water, obviously. It's apple cider. It is hot apple cider because it's fall. Ha ha. I do love the flavors of fall. And yes, that includes pumpkin spice. I don't have an issue with it. I think it's good. Overused, but it's good. Uh, all right. Looks like some people are getting an error message. So can somebody let them know in the chat to just hit the refresh? That should clear it up. I actually had it too. So, yeah. Don't know why I did that. I hate autumn because the daylight hours are too short, but I also hate summer because the daylight hours are too long. See, I think autumn is the perfect blend. When we get into winter, yes, daylight hours are too short because when we are in the middle of winter, where I live, when I go to work in the morning, it is dark. And when I go home from work in the evening, it is dark. That is depressing. Hufflepuff from Scotland. Ooh, it's late over there. And good evening to you as well, Castile. Ravenclaw from California. Just got here. What's happening? Not much, Ben. We just started. My main issue with pumpkin spice is that the pacing isn't very good. I'm not entirely even sure what you mean by that, but okay. Apologies for teasing you. I tease myself. I lose track of stuff, so don't even sweat it. Oh, Donna, birthday girl's here. Welcome. Hufflepuff Puckwudgie from Maryland. I tried pumpkin spice once and threw it, and I threw up afterwards. You know what was interesting? A couple weekends ago, I guess it would have been almost a month now. Liz and I went to a woodchuck cidery near Middlebury in Vermont. Woodchuck does great stuff, and they had, they did what you can get when you go to a lot of cideries or breweries or what have you. You can get sort of a sampler of the various things, and they had a hard pumpkin thing. What was interesting about that is because my brain had automatically assumed pumpkin spice, but it wasn't. I tried it; it was just like pumpkin. And it wasn't bad. It just threw me off because I've been so used to pumpkin spice being the thing. So that was an interesting thing. It was a bad joke, but thanks, Carolyn, for appreciating it. Yeah, she's good for that, and she's often like quicker on the draw than I am. So there's a pretty good chance if I didn't get it, she probably did. Just coming from watching some Buffy. Ooh, where you at in that? Pumpkin spice is overrated or overexposed. Overexposed, I'll give you. I still like it. I feel like pumpkin spice is an American thing because I've never seen it here. I mean, it's pretty widespread in the States. I mean, honestly, we can partly blame, between Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks for that because those two places are so prolific. Once they started doing it, it really felt like it was everywhere. So apple cider is better than pumpkin spice. Well, yeah, clearly. Did you hear about the Netflix Paul Rudd thing. I mean, I saw a trailer for a thing. Is there more to it than just the trailer? Can you give a sneak peek of your review of Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone? The sneak peek is that two-parter frustrates me. It's got some really good stuff in it, but it frustrates me. Hufflepuff from Canada. I love the Dark Crystal Netflix show. It was an amazing tribute to Jim Henson. I loved the voice work and the puppetry. Deet is awesome. Deet is great. I think I like Hup a little bit more than Deet, but Deet's definitely the best Gelfling. My new meds say no alcohol. Oh, that, I mean, you know, you work with what you've got and you do what you got to do, but that does suck. That kind of thing happens. Just learned that you're in Vermont. I lived there as a kid. It's a great place to grow up. It is. I did grow up here. And I always want to clarify when I say that. It's not like I never left Vermont. It's not like I grew up here and I'm still here and I've never been anywhere. No, I left. I lived in Boston. I lived in New York. I've traveled around, but I came back. I like it here. Pumpkin spice cereal and sausage. Okay, yeah, nobody needs that. Like, I like pumpkin spice, but there are some things it does not belong in. 2 questions. One weird, one request. Okay. Just drink water instead. Thanks to everyone for the birthday wishes. Yeah, absolutely, Donna. It's great to have you. I'm honored that you decided to spend part of your birthday here. What the heck is pumpkin spice? It's an overused autumn flavor. Shows you have nostalgia for? I mean, the one that I have nostalgia for that is held up the best is the real Ghostbusters cartoon, probably. Most other stuff from my childhood that I've gone back and revisited hasn't held up very well. Creator of Gotham is making a prequel show called Pennyworth about Alfred and his adventures when he was younger. Pennyworth, I know about Pennyworth. It's not, I'm pretty sure it's not the same people who are behind Gotham. And I'm pretty sure it's unconnected. I haven't looked into it because it didn't look that interesting to me. I'm pretty sure it's not related though. Where did you get your shirt? Well, this shirt, well, actually, first of all, thank you, Tyler. Awesome. Super appreciate it. This shirt this is me being a shill. This is my own merch. So if you actually check the description for the TeePublic, you will find this available in a wide variety of colors and multiple flesh tones. So tried to be as inclusive as I could be with the design of this shirt. So I got it from myself. Well, a theme hasn't evolved despite a lack of one, and it's pumpkin spice. Yes, this has become the pumpkin spice live stream. Oh, well. So apparently Tony Stark's going to be in the Black Widow movie. Well, I'd heard it was a prequel, so, I mean, that I can live with that. Primrose Hill and Bruno Heller are making Pennyworth. Okay, so I guess Bruno Heller was involved in Gotham. Okay. Huh. Shilling of the Daleks. Yeah, I'll take it. After watching some Torchwood with her, my friend and I have decided to watch Children of Earth. Yes, I have warned her. Like, just be sure you are prepared to be a shoulder for her to cling to for whatever support she needs after watching that thing. Just be sure you're gonna be that. All right? Like, you need a support network to watch Children of Earth. For real. Let's see. Pumpkin spice of the Daleks. Someone had to. Suppose they did. I grew up with Cheers. Carla was my favorite as a kid. I liked Carla when I was younger too. Cheers is one of those shows that I kinda grew up with, kinda didn't. What's your comfort show? The one you put on when you need a fix for a mad day? I mean, there are some episodes of Doctor Who that I'll turn to, like specific sort of upbeat ones. But coming back to Cheers, there's like a collection of shows. I used to spend the summers with my grandparents because I went to day camp near where they lived, and so I was with them on the weekends and in the evenings. And there were a bunch of shows that I have an awareness of, but very rarely actually sit down to watch. And I think of them as my grandfather's shows. And Cheers was one, Seinfeld was another, Friends, MASH, a lot of stuff like that. He was also how I got into Star Trek The Next Generation, because he liked that quite a bit, which was almost kind of an anomaly for him. But he did enjoy that show, and I used to watch that with him too. But the funny thing is, Cheers, I think I've only seen about maybe 3 episodes, front to back, start to finish, of Cheers. But it's a fantastic show, and I really like it. And it's on the list of things of, if I had free time, I'd totally sit down and watch through it. It's on Netflix, but I don't. Are you afraid of the dark? Excuse me. Are You Afraid of the Dark will always be my favorite childhood show. I think I only ever watched part of that once. I'm more into Frasier. Fair. I never really watched Frasier too much, but it seemed decent for what it was. I always watched The Golden Girls with my grandparents. Well, my daughter's mother is one of the biggest Golden Girls fans I will ever know. She got me a mug. And Golden Girls fans will get this. She got me a mug that says, "You're the Stan to my Dorothy." And here's the best part. She got that for me after we got divorced. My friend was... Okay, so this is Torchwood again. My friend was already upset after the season 2 finale. I described Children of Earth as the finale, but Owen and Tosh's deaths replaced with Bambi's mom times 20. My dad fixed Eve Miles' roof and never stops talking about it. Hey, you know what? When you have your brushes with fame, you hold on to those stories. Gay hearts. Thank you, Jamie. Very much. I'm weird. My favorite show as a kid was a 70s show called Emergency. I'm not sure if you've even heard of that one. The Dune spice is really pumpkin spice. The spice must flow. Muad'Dib. My grandmother introduced me into Faulty Towers. What was fun with my grandmother is I got my grandmother into Nintendo. I feel like I may have mentioned this at some points previously, but my maternal grandparents loved MASH, but my great uncle hated it. He was a medic in the Korean War and said it wasn't like that. Yeah, that can happen. But my grandmother originally got a Nintendo because of the summers that I would spend down there, so that I would have it for the weekends, or so I wouldn't get too bored during periods where the weather wasn't good or what have you. And she started to play it on her own, and my grandmother got into puzzle games and Mario specifically, but platformers. She liked Tetris. She liked Dr. Mario. There was a period she was better than I was. I remember calling her upstairs for her to beat some of the Super Mario 3 bosses for me. My grandmother had to beat Roy Koopa for me. That guy used to give me trouble. Nintendo grandma. Yeah. What was great? The only reason she stopped gaming was her reaction time slowed down too much. She bailed on 3D. She didn't like the N64. She didn't like the 3D thing at all. But then Nintendo had the Game Boy Advance and the DS, and she would play 2D Marios on that. Like I said, up until her reflexes slowed to where it just didn't work anymore. I got soap operas from my grandmother and mom. They are way too predictable. Thankfully, soap operas never seem to be part of any of my family's TV diet. So I never even got that stuff by proxy. Wait, is that t-shirt your design? Yes, it is. I mean, I didn't draw it. It's my concept, and I approved it. I commissioned somebody else to do the actual art because I can't draw. But yes, this is my design. This is my t-shirt, available on my merch store down in the description. I'm a shill. Your grandma sounds way cooler than mine. My grandmother was She was a saint. The other thing that she did that was amazing to me still is Gotham is a soap opera, isn't it? It kind of is. And honestly, this is something Liz will point out. Superhero comics are soap operas for teenage boys. But anyway, the other thing that my grandmother would do, so growing up, I didn't have TV in the house. Like we had television sets. Like I had a Nintendo and we had VHS and we would rent movies and all that stuff. But we didn't have a television signal. We didn't have the rabbit ears. Nothing was coming in. So I didn't watch TV growing up. But I still had a few TV shows that I liked. Because like I said, there were times that I would go down to my grandmother's and she knew what I liked. So my grandmother used to tape my favorite cartoons onto VHS tapes off the TV and send them to me. So I think I've still got some in the attic. I have boxes and boxes of He-Man and Thundercats and Ghostbusters, and even some stuff like Sesame Street on these VHS tapes. And here's the kicker though. She edited out the commercials. And the only way for her to do that was to sit there and watch it while it aired, stop the recording during the commercials, and then bring it back after the commercial was done. Oh, she was a saint. Let's see. Where did you get your 10th Doctor coat? I can't find a decent replica, but yours looks good. That one was actually sent to me by a fan. That was sent to me, I guess it was around Christmas or leading up to it that got sent to me. I think it came from Amazon. I don't know for certain though. That is an incredible grandmother. Mine put up with my obsession with She-Ra. Yeah, grandparents are amazing. Cool grandmothers are awesome. Blackadder Goes Forth was good. Not hugely into the other ones. I've only seen bits and pieces of Blackadder. I've seen like the Blackadder Christmas special like 4 times and only bits and pieces of anything else. Can't buy a t-shirt but can do this. Oh, thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that greatly. You're on my TV. Ooh. Do not attempt to adjust the signal. There is nothing wrong with your television set. Which is a weird thing for me to reference because it's before my time and something I've never seen. MASH was basically a war drama disguised as a sitcom. They even removed the laugh track in its final seasons. Yeah, it moved away from the jokes the longer it went on. The only thing my grandmother did that was great was giving me a 6 CD set of opera music. We didn't get along well politically, but I'll always be grateful for that. Well, I'm glad you can at least have that. It's tough. You know, when you don't line up with your family because I honestly, there's massive swaths of my family, of my local family, like aunts and uncles and cousins, whatnot, who I have zero in common with. Both in terms of general interests and definitely in terms of political leanings. And it makes things awkward sometimes. I mean, we don't get into fights, but there's just, whenever I'm around them, there's so much silence. Because, like, there's nothing for us to talk about. And anything that we might talk about has the potential to spark an argument. My aunt and uncle actually just left from having visited for the weekend. And I think my uncle looked me in the eye once in the 4 days he was around. Yeah. I like the original Outer Limits, but my heart belongs to the Twilight Zone. See, the thing is, Carolyn, I've seen actually very little of any of them. I've seen a couple of episodes of, I think, one of the revivals of Outer Limits, because hasn't it been revived like 2 or 3 times? And I've seen some of the original Twilight Zone, which holds up surprisingly well. I think it's just because the core concepts were so solid. If you owned a Meeseeks box, what would you do with the Meeseeks? I don't know what these words mean. I just don't know. My grandma watched Doctor Who with me, took me to the train station, looked after me when I was younger from time to time, talked to me, and took an interest in me. She was the best. I'll miss her. Yeah, I mean, when you have that kind of connection with a relative, you know, when they are gone, that's rough. I mean, my grandparents passed away, I guess about 4 years ago now. God, it might even be 5. Yeah, I think it was 5 years ago now. It's been a little while, and I still miss them, and I'll always miss them, both of them. Because as much as I don't get along with, you know, a lot of my immediate family around where I live, I always got along with my grandparents. They were amazing people. I still remember getting angry at my grandma when I was 4 because she colored my Thomas the Tank Engine wrong. Oh, the things we get hung up on. Meeseeks are from Rick and Morty. Ah, well, see, that's why I wouldn't know it. I don't watch Rick and Morty. I watched 3 episodes and realized I don't like these people. I don't want to spend any more time with them. And I haven't gone back. Like, I get why. I'm not saying it's a bad show. I saw enough of it to understand why it's smart and clever and people like it, but I'm just like, I don't want to be around these characters. What colors would you like to see on the Daleks if they get a redesign? And do you think they need one? I mean, no, they don't need one. I actually kind of liked what was starting to happen the tail end of Moffat's era, which was they stopped having as clear a delineation between the different looks of the Daleks and just started throwing them up there. I mean, it didn't always work perfectly, because you know, it did throw me off when like some 70s Daleks showed up at the start of Magician's Apprentice, but I kind of like that there was just a mix of them. I kind of like that, and I think that's a way to also low-key introduce some new designs and alterations without having to do something like the new Paradigm Daleks where you do the whole thing from scratch and like relaunch the entire thing. Just introduce some new and just put them in the mix. How would you redesign it? I don't know. I'm not a designer. Will you wear a War Doctor costume for the 50th anniversary special? That is a very cool idea, and no, I won't. Because I do not have the disposable funds to shell out for an entire costume for literally one review. That is a cool idea, though. It becomes one of those things that makes me wish I could afford to do that. Abbey Road by the Beatles turns 50 today. Or 50 soon. Sorry. And also, thank you, Connor. Thank you very much. They need to bring back the Renegade Imperial Dog Civil War. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree they need to have more infights between the dogs. The Beatles. Abbey Road is not one of the ones I know that well. There's actually only a couple of Beatles albums. I know a lot of Beatles songs, but there's only a couple of albums that I know really well. I know Sgt. Pepper really well. And I know Let It Be pretty well. But, and I've said this before, I'm more of a, for that era, I'm more of a Stones person than a Beatles person. I mean, I like the Beatles, but I forgot this year marked the year Albus Potter goes to Hogwarts for the first time. That wonderful tradition of starting to overrun things that were technically pieces of fiction that were technically set in the future. Yeah, that's always kind of a fun thing. Have you watched the movie adaptation of Clue? Oh my God, I love Clue. I grew up on Clue. I love the heck out of that movie. So much. It was the first thing I ever saw Tim Curry in. So later on, seeing him in Rocky Horror, having Clue and him being the stuck-up butler, that was, as a point of reference, that was interesting. That's a great movie. I love it. I remember yelling, Thomas isn't yellow, he's not a bee. I mean, you wouldn't have been wrong, but again, the things that bug us when we're young. What is your favorite celebrity experience at a con? Mine would be a tie between Matt Smith, Capaldi, William Daniels, or John Barrowman. Well, I've really effectively only ever met two celebrities at a con. I've met Tim Curry and I've met John Barrowman. And between the two, it is going to be Tim Curry. Meeting John Barrowman was wonderful, and he was an absolute delight. But meeting Tim Curry was a borderline profound experience that, like, I hadn't expected that to impact me the way that it did, and so that's hard to top that one. I hated him so much that the flames on the side of my face. Just rewatched Parting of the Ways. It seemed to foreshadow Jack's Torchwood persona. First time he's in charge, he's immediately harsher, more impatient, and willing to let people die. I mean, yeah, like, I complain in Torchwood that I don't find Jack as fun there, and I like his more swashbuckling attitude he tends to have on Doctor Who. But what they presented in Torchwood, it wasn't like it came out of nowhere. It was never that I didn't buy it. I just didn't enjoy it as much. Which is so often, like, I feel like it's a drum I keep beating when people, like, try and explain things that I have issues with, like, in the comment sections after reviews. You know, they're always like, oh, well, it's like this because of this. Like, no. My issue is not that it's narratively justified. It's that I don't like it. Understanding the narrative reason for it doesn't suddenly mean I enjoy it. Making sense doesn't automatically make something work for me. It helps, but that's not the only bar something has to clear, so that drives me nuts. Did you like Peter Capaldi's Doctor? Yeah. 12's my favorite Doctor right now. And, like, I say right now very specifically because my favorite Doctor has changed in the past and is liable to change again in the future, but for right now, yeah, he's my favorite. Did you prefer Spyro the Dragon or Crash Bandicoot? I only ever played either of them sporadically, so I do not feel qualified to answer that question. Did you hear about Eccleston's battle with anorexia, anxiety, and depression? I always loved him, but respect him even more for pushing through and still giving us a great Doctor performance. I actually did hear about that, and actually it brings another layer to his reluctance to be involved in Doctor Who related things since having left, because we've always kind of known, not a lot of the details, but we've always kind of known, broadly speaking, that he left the show on bad terms with some of the people behind it and with the BBC as an entity. But it is interesting to realize that there's also a certain amount of personal baggage for him as well, because he made it at a point in his life when he was sick and ill and dealing with a lot of issues, both physical and mental health issues. And it brings another layer to his reluctance to get involved in Doctor Who, again, beyond, you know, very sporadic little things, usually as little tributes for fans, you know, directly to fans or whatnot, because it takes him back to a time that he probably, for the sake of his own health, needs to move on from. And I've never been one to really hold Eccleston's feet to the fire. I've known some fans who have, and actually one who I need to see if he is aware of that, because I'm kind of hoping he'll ease off. He's a friend of mine, but I'm like, dude. So especially realizing that, it brings a lot more to the table as to, you know, the guy's reasons. I did drawings for Matt Capaldi. Matt said, these are really good. Keep drawing, buddy. I also gave Capaldi a Doctor Who story I wrote. He loved them both. He also drew a Dalek on it. Aw, that's awesome, John. Very nice. I heard that, I take it you heard Eddie Money passed away? I did. Excuse me. The way I heard... the way I heard was morbid. I feel like I've mentioned this here before, but it's probably been a while. I found out Eddie Money died because of the ghoul pool. Like, quick poll. Have I talked about the ghoul pool before? Do folks even know what I mean when I say that? Or should I explain that? I met Matt Smith and Robert Englund at a con on my 24th birthday. Oh, that's very cool. If I could think of a terrible Christmas movie, it's Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. I have no interest in watching that. No idea. I don't. Please explain, explain, explain. Okay. Explain! Explain! Okay. So, the ghoul pool, this what I'm going to emphasize this because some people find it in a really bad taste. So that's my heads up. I didn't invent this. I do, however, participate in it. So, I have friends near where I live who run a kind of betting pool around what celebrities are going to die in the next calendar year. There's a bunch of us. There's like 20 people in on this thing, and we have a draft every year where you pick 75, and we have to go round robin because obviously there are prime choices where you draft what famous people you think are going to die. And and every time it does, the guy who runs the ghoul pool sends out an email to everyone who's in it saying, hey, this person died, this participant in the ghoul pool had them, and so here are the current scores for the year. I never win, but it's really bad, and it's also designed in a way that you can't just load up on like really old celebrities, because the older somebody is, the fewer points they're worth. You can draft anyone up to 100, up to 99 years old, because once they hit 100, they're not worth anything. So from 90 to 100, if they pass away, they're 10 points. 80 to 90 is 20, 70 to 80 is 30, etc., etc., etc. So if you can peg someone who's going to bite it young, that's a lot of points. Oh, God, we are all going to hell. We are all very, very sick people participating in this. But it's sick, but I do enjoy it. Are there prizes for it? Yeah, there's a cash prize. You buy into this thing. Who won in 2016? I mean, I'm not gonna name names for the other players. Not me. Don't lie, you guys dress up as the Absorbaloff and the Bating and do magical ritual and cause the celebrities to die. I don't dress up as the Absorbaloff or the Bating. No comment on the ceremonies. In your opinion, what makes a good public service announcement? I don't know. If I ever see one, I'll tell you. Do you have any pets? Do you consider yourself a dog person or a cat person? I like both, but if you're going to make me pick one, it's going to be dogs. I like cats, but cats are jerks. They're very cute jerks, but they're jerks. I don't personally currently have any pets. My kid has a hamster. I totally get what you mean about getting it but not liking it. With things like Jack. Sorry if I came across as a you just don't get it commenter. I kind of overreacted to that, but you just kind of hit a nerve, and then I responded sort of with the weight of when that sort of thing happens. You actually didn't come off that bad. I think I might have overdone it. Let's see. Just watch Pyramids of Mars. Awesome. I've got a review up, so go check that out. If you dress up as a Pating, how do you deal with the height issues? Well, that's the beauty of cosplay, my good sir. You get to be interpretive, or my good rodent. Sorry, I try my best. But you know that cosplay does not have to be exact. You get to be representative and just bring about the soul of the character. So as long as you run around snarling at people and just stuffing stuff in your face, yeah, you know, you're pretty much the Pating. Thanks, John. Thanks so much for that. If you came upon a roundabout, would you steal it if no one would ever know? Very confused by that, because I don't know if it has a different meaning elsewhere, but a roundabout here is in traffic. It's not something you can steal. I'm very confused. Also, dogs stink. So do cats. Differently, in distinctly different ways, but come on. Have you ever listened to the song The Bad Touch by the Bloodhound Gang? Yeah. I was in college when that came out. Yeah, I've heard it. Favorite candy? Oh, like it's super mood dependent. I can kind of go all over the place, but like some good go-to things are things like Spree, preferably the hard one. I don't like the chewy Spree as much. Skittles are always good. Huh. You're really on the ball, Carolyn, with dealing with the trolls. So props to you. You've been doing really well with that. There's a misconception that the Third Doctor was the only one who got in physical contact. Many classic Doctors got physical when necessary. William Hartnell and Tom Baker. It is a misconception that he's the only one. I do think it is safe to say he was the one who did it most readily. Like it was a regular part of his repertoire as opposed to something done when necessary. Will you ever do a review of Clue? I'm not shouting. All right, I am. I'm shouting. I don't know. That's one of those things where, like, I haven't done a Why It's Awesome in a long time. So, like, maybe if I got back into those, I would. But that's one of those things, like, it's hard to find the space for it because, you know, I've got a lot of stuff going right now. I mean, I'd be happy to talk about it. I love that movie, but that's also one that recently Pushing Up Roses did a video on it earlier this year that was phenomenal, and that also becomes one of those issues of, do I have more to bring to this conversation? Thoughts on? Ooh, hang on, lost it. Thoughts on the First Doctor? People call him moody, which he is sometimes, but that isn't the defining character trait. I see him as protective and tough guy with a twinkle in his eye. I mean, like, I do think, especially depending on how early in his run you are, moody is not unfair, especially early on. I mean, I like him. I've warmed to him a bit over time versus, you know, my first impressions of him, but he's still on the lower end for me, all things considered. Thoughts on creepypasta? I mean, that kind of stuff is vaguely interesting. It's not something I'm very big into. Hello from Wales! Awesome! Howard the Duck is the best film ever made. Discuss. Be careful where you say that. That's how you get sectioned. Randomized Clue or all endings Clue? All endings. You gotta have all endings. This is an incomplete experience otherwise. I don't love Ainsley as the Master, but for different reasons than most. He just seemed like Diet Delgado. He doesn't bring something more to the table. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Anthony Ainsley as the Master was... I mean, he just really, really leaned into the campiest elements of Doctor Who of the time. I think his best performance is in the part where early on. Although, to be fair, I've also heard he's very good in Survival, which I still haven't gotten to, and I need to. But every time I've seen him show up after Castrovalva, he's been kind of painful. And I even kind of have issues with his performance in Logopolis, if I'm being perfectly honest. Your Prisoner of Azkaban revisit was great. I agree with your points. It is my favorite, as it is the first Harry Potter film I saw at 19. It made me read the books. That's awesome. And it's still a very good movie, but, like, I see the level of praise it gets, and I'm like, but. Do you have a go-to classic Who episode? Yeah, City of Death. That's an easy call for me. Which Clue ending is your favorite? I mean, the real one. All endings. That's a good answer, too. American Beauty turns 20 next month. Yeah, somebody else mentioned that to me, and I can't... Might have been on Twitter? I think it was on... Yeah, it was on Twitter, because I alluded to having watched something that I forgot how pretentious it was. And somebody asked if it was American Beauty, to which I said, no, I don't. I got rid of my copy for American Beauty for reasons I hope I don't have to explain. I did like that movie, though. I didn't rewatch. I mean, I might never rewatch it again now, but, I did like it for a while, so my memories of it are solid. If you were to cast a new version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, who would you cast? See, I don't think I'd have it in my heart to even run that exercise, because I talked about this when I talked about my love of Hitchhiker's Guide. I just don't think it works as well in a visual medium. It works pretty well in audio format. I think it works best on the page. I just think you lose so much doing it visually with those stories, that I don't know. I can't even bring myself to fantasize about it, because I'm just like, yeah, but this is a bad idea. Like, my ability to do hypotheticals is limited in that way, because if the premise of the hypothetical is something that I wouldn't actually want to happen, I have a hard time forcing my brain to start thinking of possibilities. I might be related to John Barrowman down the lines. How would you end up being related to him down the line as opposed to right now? Or, like, you might find out down... I don't know. I don't know things, if folks hadn't guessed. I have seen Survival. I really liked him there because they finally did something new and interesting with his version. Won't tell you what it was, though. No spoilers. Much appreciated. I was gutted by Spacey, as he was one of my favorite actors. Yeah. As things really started to come out, in the last few years, Spacey was one of the ones that really hurt for me to find out, because he probably was one of my favorite working actors. And not that it was any less horrific what anyone else did, but there's just something about when you feel like there's a massive stain put on something you used to love. That just sucks. It's also part of maturing and just coming to terms with reality. So it's not something like, oh, I'm so mad that this stuff came out because I can't enjoy these movies anymore. I'm not happy about that, but, like, stuff needed to come out. It needed to stop. So if I'm no longer able to watch American Beauty or The Ref or The Usual Suspects with a clear conscience, that is way less important than putting a stop to what was going on. So, you digest. How many Ravenclaws do you know? I'm one of select few I know in New Hampshire, but I'm curious about Vermont. Liz is a Ravenclaw. That's my partner. Other than that, I don't know too many off the top of my head that I know for sure. Like, Liz and I, when we're bored, will sometimes start sorting things into Hogwarts, which we've actually, done here. We did it with Marvel Phase 1 characters. And, we've done it with She-Ra characters and Buffy characters, and we've done it with our friends. We've sorted our friends into Hogwarts houses. But that's us guessing. I don't know how many of them actually are what we think they are. So, when did you meet Tim Curry? I met Tim Curry at Boston Fan Expo in maybe it was last year. Yeah, no, I think it... No. It was either last year or the year before. It was either 2018 or 2017. I can't remember now. Which is your favorite Dirk Gently book? I think I like Holistic Detective Agency a little bit better than Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. I saw your Marvel Hogwarts video. Good stuff. Thanks. We are eventually going to continue that. We will eventually do Phase 2 one of these days. wrangling schedules, like even with my partner, because like there's plenty of time that we spend together, but we're not always here where I am, and she's not always up for taking an hour to sit down and talk about this stuff. So, you know, which is fine. I wouldn't expect her to be able to want to do that at the drop of a hat. So, you know, you'd think, oh, we'll just do stuff. Well, look, we try and actually have a life outside of my shooting videos and recording podcasts. So, you know, I work to her schedule. She doesn't work to mine. We need another sorting video with you two. Those are my favorite. I mean, I definitely want to do it. I met Matt Smith and John Barrowman in Boston 2017. Tim Curry was there, so probably 2017. Yeah, that lines up. That makes sense. Could you do Hogwarts houses for Dark Crystal character or Gotham characters? Well, I mean, God, 90% of Gotham's just going to be Slytherin. Which is probably a big part of why I like the show so much. Like... Ooh. It's tough. With something like doing it for Dark Crystal, I would want to, but the viewership on the Dark Crystal review was not that high, which would make me hesitant to dedicate another video to something as ancillary as that. It bums me out sometimes when I have to own up to how much the view count kind of determines what I do, but I'd be very insincere if I pretended otherwise. I mean, it's also part of why, like, I'm going to finish up the Let's Play that I've been doing. I don't know when I'm going to do another one because, you know, the views have gone down every single video. And I'll finish it out because I'm pretty sure I'm almost done the game. Just so that, you know, I have the complete thing up. But, you know, there are... there are just things that I would like to do that there doesn't seem to be as much interest in as I would care for. Did you watch the new Joker movie? If so, no spoilers, please. It's not out yet, is it? Do you folks think I get to pre-screenings? I'm not an actual critic. You know that, right? Have you seen the video where Matt Smith is on stage, sees a kid dressed up as a Dalek, and he picks her up and they talk? She says exterminate and everything is so cute. I have not seen that one. Can't wait for the rest of your 11th Doctor reviews. Favorite Doctor. And no, Joker isn't out yet. Okay, I didn't think it was. It was at a film festival. Yeah, I live in Vermont. It wasn't at a film festival anywhere near me. Hold on. I'm going to pop on over to the Discord. Even though there wasn't a theme, I just going to see if there are any questions that popped up over there. So give me just a moment. Here's a question brought on by what I'm currently hearing. How early is too early to set off fireworks for Halloween? Fireworks for Halloween? Oh, okay. So the person asking is from Ireland. I guess that's a thing over there. I would say anytime, because fireworks for Halloween, that's not Halloween. Not to me, at any rate. So, like, yeah, no, that's just don't. Curious about your thoughts on LGBTQ plus representation in media aimed at teenagers and kids. I think if you're going to show heterosexual sexuality in basically anything that's ever been put out there, then there should not be an issue with representing the variance from that. And, you know, with gender expression, I think that's the one people are getting weirder about right now when it comes to anything being exposed to children. There's all these cries of children are confused, children are this, children are that. And, like, my basic stance is that children are as confused as you make it for them. If children are confused, it's because you're presenting them with things badly, or you already had one thing ingrained in them and now you're telling them the opposite, and that takes time to process, and that is confusing. I do, however, try and avoid too many blanket statements about gender identity when it comes to pre-adults. whether it be, especially if you're talking preteens or anything like that, just because I feel that is very much a case by case basis situation, because I have seen and heard of scenarios that I thought both made total sense and were okay, and others that I was like, that seems, I'm not sure I'm on board with that. But when I get presented with either one of those, I always get the feeling that whoever's presenting it to me very much wants me to make a blanket statement about, oh, that's fine, therefore this is always fine, or that seems weird to me, therefore this is all bad. And I refuse to do either of those things. So when it comes to gender identity and children, in terms of raising children and allowing for that movement, I think being more flexible than we have historically as a society is a good thing. I think that's waters that, as a society and as parents, we are all navigating and probably aren't getting right yet. So that's a process. All right, pop it on back. Let's see. Oh, let me back up. Some stuff came in. Are you on Instagram? Haven't found an official account. I am, but not under Council of Geeks. I'm on Instagram under Vera Wild. WYLDE, because I had to spell wild the most pretentious way I could possibly think to do it. Which Doctor Who episode hits you more emotionally than they originally did, given you're a parent? I'm trying to think if there's one that has hit me harder for that reason specifically. Well, the one that comes to mind actually is Idiot's Lantern, but not because it hit me emotionally harder. It made me angrier than I'd ever been. And I've hated that. I've always hated that episode. But rewatching it now with the perspective of a parent, I hated. It made me so angry, that thing. So yeah, it has happened, but in the negative sense. So let me pop on down. Children are much more together than people give them credit for. Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you think Gotham is camp? Oh, absolutely. But Gotham is dark camp, which you don't get a lot. So that's a big part of what I like about it. Are you going to do favorite Dark Crystal characters with Liz? I'm not planning on it. I suppose it's possible. Hang on, sorry. Do you have a guest for this month's LGBTQ plus video? Not only do I have a guest, I need to wrap this up relatively soon and get back to editing that, because that was a 2-hour conversation that I have given up trying to cut down to something shorter, and I think I'm just going to release it in 2 parts. I think some Doctor Who fans missed the point about the War Doctor using violence, saying the Doctor has used violence. The difference was that it was usually his last option, while for the War Doctor, it was the only option. Yeah, it is always weird to me when, like, it tends to come up when I talk about Hellbent and the Doctor shooting somebody, and people are like, well, he's done stuff like that before. I'm like, there is a massive difference between the Fifth Doctor shooting Omega, because if he didn't, the universe would be destroyed, and the 12th Doctor shooting someone who was simply standing in his way and was not an immediate threat to anybody other than the Doctor's own really bad idea that he was trying to do. So, like, there's a massive difference between those. Who's a YouTuber you feel gets way too much crap? I don't know, because I really go out of my way to avoid finding out about YouTube drama. So I don't know how much crap a lot of the YouTubers I watch or follow are getting, or even the ones who I don't like are getting, because I really try and stay out of that. Are you going to do a review on the Rocket Man movie? Probably not, but spoiler, it is very likely to show up on my top 10 movies of the year when we get there. So I think having a Joker movie runs the risk of demystifying the character, which is a big part of him. I'm not worried about that because it's completely out of continuity. So I don't think you can claim that it's demystifying a character when it's only this one interpretation. It's not like, and we're going to keep following him. It's like, well, no. It's just the one time. See, I object to giving the Joker in the comics, like in continuity, a definitive origin and background because, yes, I agree. But for a one-off self-contained movie, whatever. I don't think of that as damaging because nobody's implying that that is now the canon that everyone should assume is the case for every other version of the Joker. Let's see. Have you seen Gavin and Stacey, and will you carry on with the War Master Big Finish series? I saw a little bit of Gavin and Stacey. I kind of liked it, but not enough to stick with it. I think I'm done. I can't remember how many episodes I did. Maybe 3 or 4. However many were on a disc, because I watched it way back when didn't get Netflix through streaming, got it through the discs. So however many episodes were on the first disc, didn't stick with it after that. It was okay, just wasn't quite for me. So, you know, it happens. Hold on, I lost where I was. Okay, here we go. Oh no, I went back too far. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my place again. How much of Neil Gaiman have you read? Current favorite author? I've read a bit. There's a fair amount of his stuff that I still haven't read. But I've read, I've read Sandman. I've read some of his other comic work. I've read American Gods. I've read Anansi Boys. I've read Neverwhere, which is my favorite thing that he's written. I've read Stardust. I think that's it. There's a fair amount that I haven't read, though. And he is quite good. I do enjoy his work. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience? No. I mean, not waking. Like, I'll have stuff like that happen in dreams, but I wouldn't count that. So, no, I haven't. I can listen to your rambles for 2 hours. Often put your videos on in the background during work time. Oh, thank you. Actually met Neil Gaiman once. Totally worth it. Yeah, okay, Carolyn, we are now all officially jealous. Because that is awesome. He seems like such a cool guy. You know it's serious when he takes his glasses off. And I didn't answer the will I carry on with the War Master Big Finish series. Eventually I might. I mean the Big Finish sets aren't cheap, even going strictly digital. And then it's a question of time. Like I absolutely want to, because I really liked series 1 of the War Master. I just don't know when. What angered you about The Idiot's Lantern? Okay, what angered me on the rewatch, because I'd forgotten, because I never liked that episode. What angered me is the very end of it, when the father, the abusive, shouting, horrible father, is effectively kicked out of the house. He takes his bag, he's leaving, and Rose says to his son, go to him. You have to. He's your dad. Screw you, Rose Tyler. I know you've got daddy issues. I get why she would be the one to say that. But F you and F that episode for framing it like that was good advice. That you go to the person who was destroying your home actively, this abusive factor in your life that just barely exited. Yeah, go up and maintain ties with that. I'm not saying that there was no way to ever have that father be redeemed, but not literally seconds after he's out of the house. Let him stew. Let him live with some consequences to his damn actions for once. Telling this kid to go back to his abusive dad. Oh, God, that pissed me off. In one live stream, you said if you could, you want to do better locations. Personally, please don't do that for any more than one-offs because I think the current one is too iconic. I mean, what I meant by that is there are some things that I have planned that I want to do things that don't work in this space. So it's not, when I say other locations, I don't mean like, I'm going to change my standard shooting set. No, I just mean there are certain things that I want to do that either wouldn't work in the space I usually use for shooting or would work much better in a slightly different setting. And that's what I meant by that. I don't mean a permanent relocation. Sorry if I missed it, but our Big Finish reviews moving to the podcast with Classic Who. Big Finish reviews are kind of on a hiatus right now. Because I just don't have the time for them. I say that, I was actually commissioned to do a Big Finish review, and that next month, I think. So, like, it'll still come up every now and then, but, like, it's kind of off the docket for the time being. I think Hellbent was the Doctor tired of losing, especially because his companions don't usually end well. Again, I'm not saying there was no justification for it. I'm just saying I hate it. If you could have one force ability, what would you have? Oh, the mind trick, always. I think it's canon that not even the Joker knows his true backstory. I don't know if that is, especially now, because they've done the whole 3 Jokers things, which I don't even know if that's finished playing out, and I don't get, and I don't, yeah. I would guess Rose telling the boy to go with his abusive father, there's a reason narratively why it works, but if I explain that, then Council of Geeks will get angry. Yeah, I kind of will. You're not wrong. Not at you specifically, just at like the... Why does society think that people have sexual orientations and identity with gender identities because they see other people like that? Monkey see, monkey do does not work like that. I mean, here's the thing. To a certain extent, it actually does happen, but only insofar as... I do think that if people who have lived a completely cisnormative, heteronormative life get exposed to the possibilities of just that people can be bisexual, homosexual, transgender, non-binary, what have you, I do think that does open up the possibility of them to think about that in a way they had never before. But it's not an imitation thing. It's not, oh, I saw that person was trans, I'm trans now. I just mean that, like, what can happen is that people can see something that suddenly speaks to a part of themselves that they didn't have words for before. And what that can look like to outsiders who object to people not being cisgender and heterosexual, how that can look to them is, oh, that person was perfectly normal until they saw all this queerness. And that screwed them up. Like, no, that allowed them to realize and find words for something about themselves that they already knew was off. But it can look like, from the outside looking in, like they just saw and imitated. So I get why some people say, well, I mean, some people say it's a complete smokescreen and, you know, it's a bad faith argument. But I get why some people come to that conclusion incorrectly, not specifically trying to, you know, push a negative against that, but still end up coming to that conclusion. Because if you don't know enough about the situation, there's a lot of ways to misinterpret stuff. Can you hear how badly you want to drop an F-bomb during the Idiot's Lantern rant? Yeah, could you tell? I just want to hear Graham and Jody say, no flow, co, no so flow, mo, mo. Have you ever seen the French movie Intouchables? I have not. Don't know that one. Do you think Slytherin and Ravenclaws get along well? Oh, goodness, I hope so. My partner's a Ravenclaw. It's 3 a.m. where I live. I'm going to get some sleep now. That's a good idea. And actually, I should wrap this up soon. I'm just going to try and see if I can grab any of the last few questions here. Oh, goodness. They've been piling up. Let's see. If you ever have the time, yeah, right. Hearing about your hectic schedule, you should read Doctor Who Combat Magics. It's a 13-story with focus on Yaz's internal thoughts. I would much prefer that we got more insight on Yaz on the show. Just saying. Burn in Hell, Spider-Man, One More Day. See, I've never actually read that. I'm well aware of One More Day. I know its reputation and why people have issues with it. I haven't actually read it. So, you know. Given your dislike of TV Sixth Doctor, how much would you be willing to watch Trial of the Time Lord, a series-long story? I mean, I'm going to have to eventually. It's on the to-do list. I mean, eventually I hope to catch up on all of Classic Who. Okay, my sweetie darlings. My birthday Prosecco glass is empty. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Love you all. Thanks for being you. Thank you, Donna, for sharing some of your birthday time with us. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if Ed Heim will be a future showrunner, especially if his Series 12 story is good. I mean, we'll see. I don't like to speculate about future showrunners or future doctors or anything like that, because I want to try and enjoy what we have as best as I can while we have it. Did you hear that they, them was added by Merriam-Webster as an official pronoun? I did not. Cool. Who would win in a fight between Jack Robertson and Henry Van Staten? I know who Henry Van Staten is. If I know who Jack Robertson is, I am drawn a blank. I like The Idiot's Lantern because it was the only DVD I had to rewatch it over and over and over again. Well, yeah, no, I mean, that happens. That's basically fandom by Stockholm Syndrome. That's a thing. You're awesome, by the way. Hope you have a brilliant week, month, etc. You appreciate it. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate you, too. Appreciate all you folks. What's your favorite type of cheese, Chatter? Aged, preferably. Final thoughts before you wrap up. Keep doing what you're doing. Love it. Thank you very much. And yes, I should definitely wrap up. So, inside tip, in case you folks don't already do it, best way to have apple cider warmed with a cinnamon stick. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. Flattered. Jack Robertson is the... Oh, ew. I guess I take Henry Van Staten between the two of those. Yeah. Anyways, so hope everyone had a good night. This was an unstructured one. Like I've been slightly overwhelmed last couple weeks. So maybe we'll have a theme next week if I can start pulling it together again. But in any case, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support, your comments, likes, shares, everything that folks do. Even if all you do is watch, I'm still grateful for you. If you do anything more than that, I'm absolutely grateful for that. It's just nice to have you folks to talk to once a week. I mean, in addition to all the videos I put up, but just I always like this. So thank you all for tuning in. And I just want you all to remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, you are loved, you are the council. I'm just running the meetings. Have a good night.